said her life could be in danger because of the rhetoric.
Her life is in danger? Who's that?
Marjorie Taylor Greene, she says.
Marjorie Taylor Greene. I don't think her life is in danger. Frankly, I don't think anybody cares about her.
I don't want Donald Trump to make me feel even temporarily bad for Marjorie Greene. But obviously, if you're watching this, you know that for about 3 days now, their like simmering disconnect turned into a full-on feud. And Donald Trump has said some insane things about her, not just in that video, although also in that video. And as a result of that, she's saying her life is at risk. She's getting death threats. The president of the United States is told that obviously as a direct result of the types of tweets that we're about to read for you, a congresswoman of his party is receiving death threats. And his reaction is to call her a traitor and say nobody cares about her. Now look, I hope for some MAGA people, this is an opportunity to see, as Marge is in real time, to see who he is. Because he's done that exact sort of thing about any number of Democrats, and obviously you're not gonna care about that. But this is one of your people. Some of you might even prefer her to him. And this is how he responds. It is possible, implausible, but possible that she could actually be the target of political violence. That's how deranged his fans are. And he's warned about it, and he says, nobody cares about her, the traitor. And he is the president of the United States. We are living in such mad times. But that's the serious part of that. The fun part of it is them attacking each other. So we're gonna try to have a bit of fun with that. I'm not gonna read this entire message because this is longer than many short stories that I've written in my life. But this is what Trump sent out over the weekend about Marjorie Greene that really kicked the whole thing into high gear. I am withdrawing my support and endorsement of Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene. He put it in quotation marks. It's just what she is, dude. I don't like it any more than you do, but that's what she is. He says, despite my record of a blah, 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 low taxes, no transgender for everyone, and I will literally never know what that means. Despite all of that, all she does, wacky Marjorie, is complain, complain, complain. And then he runs through an exaggerated but not wholly inaccurate accounting of what actually seemed to start their feud, which is that she wanted to run for senator or for governor. She wasn't happy being a congressman anymore. And the polling showed that she was actually doing really poorly, and that if she were to be the Republican candidate, it gave a real opportunity for the Democrat to win. And so it seems accurate to say that he didn't want her to run for that race. That's true. But then he says that like she wouldn't have had any chance unless she had my endorsement, which she wasn't about to get. But if with your endorsement she would have won, why wouldn't she have gotten it? Again, his story, it has to work both ways for him, but that makes it not work anyway. But regardless, he says that I'm so busy, I can't take a ranting lunatic's call every day. Damn. And then he says basically, somebody primary her, and if you do, you'll have my complete and unyielding support. She has gone far left. That was surprise to me that she's now far. I guess she's consulting with Mamdani on his mayoral possibilities. But anyway, blah, 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 attacks her, wants her to be replaced. So this really did escalate over the weekend. And what led to the video we showed you in the beginning was she said stuff like this on Twitter, which was that she's now being contacted by private security firms with warnings for my safety as a hotbed of threats against me are being fueled and egged on by the most powerful man in the world, the man I supported and helped get elected. She goes on to say that she doesn't like worship him, all that stuff. We'll get to all that. But this is pretty amazing because I don't doubt that she is getting threats. Or I get threats. She's seen as like a traitor. She's gonna get even more threats. But like, I also think two things. One, did Marge care when like judges were getting threats on their life? Relatives of judges were getting threats on their life because they were being egged on by that guy? Hey, how about when he egged on a crowd and they went to the Capitol and then they killed some cops? Remember that? You don't care about that because it wasn't you that was being targeted, but it was bad. People died as a result of that. It was still a really bad thing. Also, Marjorie Greene, I'm sure, would agree that she's been demonized by the left, by crazy commies like me for years now. And yet, evidently, Her life was totally safe during years of that demonization. One day into Donald Trump talking about you, and all of a sudden you're receiving death threats and you need private security firms. And I believe that you are right to say that. But then it really is hard to believe that the left is the one with the problem of political violence when all it takes is one day of Donald Trump calling you a Looney Tune, and now you might be killed. So again, I think that this says a lot. It says a lot about Donald Trump, definitely. It says a lot about his movement. And it also, in some ways, says something about Marjorie Greene. Now, I'm glad that she disagreed with him on the topics that she did, and I don't want her life to be in danger. But we also have to understand the context of this. JR, what do you make of all this?
First of all, I'm proud of you, John. I thought I was going to be in a fight here about how I don't have to give much of a damn about what is Marjorie Taylor Greene's talking about. By the way, Marjorie Taylor Greene is saying a lot of the right stuff. I keep putting that forward. And every time I see her having this next beef and the next battle with Donald Trump, I'm thinking, oh, is she gonna finally fully come around? Is she finally been forced to? Because we already know these things change for people once it's personally something that they're experiencing. So the higher cost of things, she specifically pointed out how her kids won't have the same opportunities that they expected to have because of this failing economy, because she actually saw some things with those Epstein files and the Epstein survivors, and it spoke to her. So she was upset about a few things. But as you pointed out, she's not upset about it enough to actually do something further. What is she now going to do? What's she gonna do now? Is she now gonna, change this whole rhetoric conversation that Republicans have about how these far lefties are the ones committing all this political violence? Because she also talked about how she's getting all these death threats and these people coming for her, and they're getting the kinds of things that she would expect to get from other folks. Well, are you gonna finally tie that knot and be like, it's the same guy who called me a lunatic that now I'm getting all kinds of death threats, who went on multiple tirades online to call me out and say a bunch of things about me. But the one thing she's still gonna be on board with is him attacking American citizens, him going after people that they both at the same time think are lesser than them, more minorities, more gay folks, more lesbians, more trans folks. All these folks are still willing to go after, and she still has no problem with how he's operating. And she still doesn't believe, despite the fact that there's multiple people who've talked about his involvement with all the child sex trafficking rings and outside of it, she's still okay with that guy. That is until he finally targets her.
Yeah.
I mean, I appreciate you, but it's just not principled. That's all.
Yeah, well, and I'm not even sure how against him she's gonna be now. Like we've been talking about the feud's gone nuclear, right? That's probably like the headline of this story on YouTube. But it's still mostly one way. We're gonna get to Marge in just one sec, but she's not hitting him as hard as he's hitting her. Let's be clear about that. And no, I don't think we're gonna have to argue about this. I like her position on Epstein. That's good. Although in the end, so many Republicans have moved over that even if she had flip-flopped on that, it wouldn't necessarily matter. She said good things about the ACA subsidies, but it didn't end up happening. So again, I believe in only giving credit so much as it is earned, and words are worth very little, actions are worth more. There's been some good words, not even that many good words, but some, not that many good actions, mostly in Epstein, and I've given her credit for that. So let's just be clear about what she's actually done. Again, none of this has anything to do with whether she should be receiving death threats or whatever.